Good morning, everyone.
Well, hey there.
It's Sunday morning, and guess what? The Strip is mobbed today. Why is that?
We got NASCAR going on, we got Mexican Independence Weekend, and there's too many tourists down there.
So what do you do if you're a Las Vegas local and there's a lot of people on the Strip?
We run away to the desert.
That's right. And we ran away to this place where we're at right now. If you see behind me, that's an old ruins of a schoolhouse. This is an old ghost town, and it's been here since 1904.
Yeah, the gold was discovered. This little town is called Rhyolite. It's about 2 hours north of Las Vegas, and the town only lived for about 10 years, but there's wonderful ruins here, and
There
we want to
is.
show them to you.
Yes, the ruins are really cool. So we're going to show them to you, and this adventure starts right now.
Back in 1904, a couple of prospectors named Shorty Harris and E.L. Cross found quartz over in a hill in this remote area embedded with free gold. The rush was on, and before you know it, there were 2,000 mining claims in the 30-mile area called the Bullfrog District. The Montgomery Shoshone mine was the most promising, and so Rhyolite became the boomtown. The town got its name from the silica-rich volcanic rock in the area.
First up in Rhyolite is the Bottle House, probably the best preserved structure in town. This amazing building was constructed out of 50,000 beer and liquor bottles, and more than a century later, it is still looking good, almost move-in condition, and I have to say I love that porch.
The Bottle House was originally constructed in 1906 using primarily Busch beer bottles donated from the 50 bars in town and held together with adobe mud. Builder Tom Kelly chose bottles because, in his words, it's very difficult to build a house with lumber from a Joshua tree. It took about a year and a half to construct the 3-room building. Here's an interesting fact. The Bottle House was given new life in 1925 when Paramount Pictures restored it to be used in a motion picture. We found this movie poster in the Beatty Museum. The movie was The Airmail, a silent film starring Warner Baxter, Billy Dove, and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. In the 1930s, the Bottle House was opened for tourists, and that was the beginning of Rhyolite's life as a ghost town tourist destination. In the 50s and 60s, a gentleman named Tommy Thompson lived there and raised his family, and it was he who built the miniature bottle buildings along the side here. Fast forward 50 years, and the house was in bad shape, but in 2005, the Park Service repaired it and replaced the roof. It's now probably the best preserved building in town. These are the ruins of the Rhyolite schoolhouse that was built in 1909. This was actually Rhyolite's second school, but by the time it was finished, most of the children had left Rhyolite because the boom was over.
These are the remains of the Overberry Bank, I think they call it. I'm going to try to climb up this little embankment here. I see what I did there, an embankment at the bank. Let's walk in the front door. See if we can get a loan.
The Overberry building was erected in 1907 at a cost of $45,000 and contained a bank and other businesses. This building also had the luxury of electric lights and indoor plumbing. Right across the street from the Overberry building are the ruins of the HD and LD Porter store. In this one store, you could buy groceries, clothing, mining supplies, hardware, lumber, furniture, hay, grain, and also wagons. Their slogan was, "We handle all good things but whiskey." They purchased the lot for $1,200, and construction of the building was estimated at about $10,000.
And we're going to take a little walk down here. And I think that's called the Cook Bank. Boy, you can see that's in pretty good shape. S. Cook and Company Bank.
The Cook Bank building was erected in 1908 at a cost of $90,000. This is a 3-story building plus a basement. The bank was situated on the first floor and the business offices were on the second and third floors. There was also a post office in this building that was located in the basement. So as you can see, this would have been one very busy location at the time, and like the Overbury building, they also had electric lights.
You can sort of imagine big old doors here. There's the steps going in to the first level. There's the basement.
Well, like many of the gold rush towns, they did have rail service to take the ore away from here, and this is the train depot. That is one beautiful building, is it not? Considering it's more than a century old. It is privately owned, it's not part of the National Park Service, and I think that's why it's in such good condition. But yeah, let's take a look at this beautiful building.
It actually looks like they restored it a little bit.
I think they did, yeah. Yeah, and it's all fenced in. We can't get any closer than here, but we'll at least take a look at it.
And there's signs that say rattlesnakes.
Yeah, that's fun.
It's kind of fun to imagine that there would be railroad tracks here at one time, and now they're all gone. Imagine the people standing up there waiting for their train. How many people were in this town?
At its height in 1906 and 7, it was 10,000 people.
By 1906, the mines were producing and Rhyolite was a bona fide boomtown. So much so that the mine owners contracted with the Las Vegas and Tonopah Railroad to run a spur line to the area, which they did, right through the residential district. The first passenger train arrived in December of that year. The next year, the Tonopah and Tidewater Railroad, which originated over in California, began running through the outskirts of town. And then there was a third railroad as well. The Bullfrog and Goldfield Railroad connected the two Nevada boomtowns. At its height, the railroad sidings could accommodate 105 freight cars to unload and reload with ore. Moving along and just down the road from the depot is this 2-room cabin built in 1905. It was originally a residence, but from what we have been researching, it appears this could have been a brothel as well. It's really well preserved, so let's check it out.
This was a bedroom, obviously.
This is the final resting place of Mona Bell, a resident of Rhyolite in 1908. She was shot and killed by her boyfriend, who went by the name of Fred Skinner. People still come to pay their respects to the spirit of this woman. I will leave a link in the description box to The Legend of Mona Bell.
And I believe this is the jail. It does have bars on the windows. And that's a pretty hefty door right there. I think we can safely say this is the jail. Here's the front entrance, right here. And there's another heavy steel door. Uh-oh, there's an hombre walking out there. Who is that?
I'm innocent.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't do it.
You don't look innocent to me.
Before we leave the Rhyolite area, let us mention a couple of other stops worth a look. On the same road as Rhyolite is the Goldwell Open Air Museum, which is exactly what its name implies, a museum of unique and eclectic art right on the side of a dusty road in the Nevada desert. Less than 5 miles to the east of Rhyolite is Beatty, Nevada, which is definitely not a ghost town. It's a great example of a small desert town which got its start from Old Man Beatty's ranch over a century ago, and it is full of history and friendly, warm folks. The excellent Beatty Museum is a treasure trove of historical photographs and artifacts from life in this area in the old days. Visitors are encouraged to browse the documents, photos, and books as well as the very well-done displays. If you're in the area, do stop in for a look. I'll leave a link to their informative website in the description box below. Okay, before we close, let's take one last look at Rhyolite and just how amazing this town really was. In its prime, Rhyolite had 16 grocery stores, 50 saloons, 19 lodging houses, 6 barbers, 4 bakeries, 35 gaming tables, 8 doctors, and 3 railroads. And this is just one example of an old mining town in the Old West. If you have the time, this is definitely one day trip out of Las Vegas that I would highly recommend.
Okay, that was our history lesson for today. What did you think about Rhyolite?
We hadn't been there in a long time. There was a lot to see. We spent more time than I thought we would, and we're just big history buffs, and I enjoyed it.
We
Yeah.
love all things about Nevada.
Yeah, we do, and climbing around in the rocks and the scrub, I'm all about it. It was fun.
We liked it.
Yeah.
If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification button. Anything else?
No, I hope you join us next week for whatever we have on tap. I'm not even sure what that is.
We have no idea what's coming up next week.
That's right.
Hope you had a good time. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye,
Bye-bye, everybody. Okay, I'm creeped out. Bye.